unfortunately, sports is one of the areas that I think AI cannot disrupt,
Yeah.
at least for the foreseeable future.
Well, unless you have AI teams.
I think that's going to be a bit sad if we get to that stage.
There's a lot going on in the business world right now. The largest IPO in history with SpaceX, the World Cup, and the ongoing war. And the UAE is playing a key role in all of these global stories shaping the world. To make sense of it all, I got an exclusive conversation with His Excellency Faisal Belhoul, one of the region's most respected investors and operators. This is a conversation about building connections over football, investing in local champions, and why sports assets continue to rise in value. We'll also talk about some of the burning questions for anyone doing business in Dubai and the Middle East, and what's next for expats building in this region. The answer I got is something I haven't heard before. You want to stick around for that.
You're growing like 200-300% in the early years.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be an entrepreneur.
So I'm definitely an emerging market junkie. I like to go to the frontier.
Okay. Give us the meat, Abdullah.
You need to be able to make the sacrifices that are required for this journey.
Take pride in your job. This too shall pass.
Yes.
The purpose of this podcast is to really talk about what is happening around the world, what are some of the big macro events globally and also regionally that are shaping our region from an economic standpoint. So this is not a political show. This is a show that aims to provide intellect, insights, educated opinions on basically what's happening with the purpose of helping people here advance in their business, think about maybe new business ideas to launch, if their founders maybe think about where to expand their business and so on. So if I think about the macro events today, the biggest story this week has been the SpaceX IPO, which is going to happen today on June 12th. You also have the war, which has been, a big story across the region, on and off for a while now. And you also have a happy event, which is the start of the World Cup, which launched yesterday with the first game, Mexico beating South Africa 2-0.
Yes, and a lot of red cards.
And a lot of red cards. So I hear you're a great football fan. So are you?
I definitely am. So thank you for hosting me today, Loulou. It's a pleasure to be with you. And since you chose to start with football, we can definitely talk about that because that's my passion. I am a big football fan. I'm actually a big Arsenal fan. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people who know me know that because this has almost become a family affair.
Okay.
For me, it means a lot more than just the sport and just being a fan and enjoying watching it. It's become for me more of a family bond because me and my brothers have decided to sort of support this team and make it our joy, our happiness, our sadness. We watch games together. We travel to games together. So I find it as an amazing bonding tool to basically get closer to people that you care about, whether it's family or friends. And this year, obviously, before getting to your question about the World Cup, this year, Arsenal has won the Premier League after 22 years of waiting.
Yes.
So you can imagine me and my brothers waiting for 22 years, supporting, getting all the sort of banter from the opposing fans.
Yes.
And this is our year, so nobody can really talk to us this year. We're flying high.
Yeah. So Arsenal won the Premier League,
but they lost
the.
We lost the Champions League final,
Yeah.
which is in itself an accomplishment because the last time we've reached the final was 2006 when we also lost it, unfortunately, to Barcelona. This time we played against PSG. PSG is amongst the best teams in the world right now. They won the Champions League last year, so if that in itself is shows how strong they are. And it was an amazing game. I actually was there.
Were you there in Budapest?
I was there. I was in Budapest with my brothers. We attended the game. It was a draw. It went all the way to penalties, and unfortunately we lost it to penalties. So it was a coin flip, but that's football.
Yeah. And interestingly, I think in all of that is that Emirates Airlines is a massive sponsor of Arsenal.
Absolutely.
Paris Saint-Germain is owned by Qatar.
That's right.
Man City is owned by Abu Dhabi.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, how amazing is that?
It just shows you, I mean, how important is this sport and how important is this industry, and whether it's for corporate sponsorships and alliances or whether it's for ownership. Sport is football is way beyond just being a sport. I mean, it's a culture, it's a following, it's impact, it's reach. Whether it's governments or whether it's large financial groups, they have seen this as an asset class that cannot be dismissed, and they've really done wonders to develop the sport and to develop the impact. If you look at how sport celebrities have managed to impact how people view cultures or people. If you look at, for example, Mohamed Salah in Liverpool, his impact on the perception of Arabs and Muslims in the West has completely changed as a result of people supporting him. He became sort of a great ambassador of the region by virtue of just being a good football player. So you just start to understand to what extent football can change perceptions and views of people, and can actually have a positive impact on the world in general.
Speaking of football, 80% of people across MENA say that football is their favorite sport. This is across MENA. I mean, it's massive.
It's the number one sport in the world, yes.
72% of all regional sports conversation on social media is about football. Yes. Something like 50% of the UAE residents are football fans or participated in football. So it's really incredible. Why football, right? Why no other sport has kind of had that impact?
Loulou, I think there's obviously a lot of reasons, but football is a sport that is accessible to all. Football is hope that you don't need resources other than your passion and your willingness to play the game. If you go to the poorest countries, they don't need anything to play football. They just need a flat surface and anything that could resemble something that they can kick. Some countries, they just put together some old socks, pairs of socks, and put them together, and they become in sort of looking like a ball, and they start kicking them around. So that's all what you need. Yeah. And for a lot of those nations, football resembles hope. They can go from poverty to be able to be breadwinners for their families. So it resembles everything that is good, and to that extent, it's been an amazing sport. And once you get into it, watching it is addictive. I mean, it's a beautiful sport to watch.
Who's your favorite player?
Favorite player of all time, or favorite player of Arsenal, or favorite player of the current squad?
Let's talk about World Cup.
In the World Cup?
Yes. I'm assuming you're gonna watch it, right?
Of course. But my obviously, going back to sort of my love for Arsenal, England is a team that has a number of Arsenal players that are phenomenal, and I would love to see England sort of progress well. I mean, England has been one of those clubs that have been, one of those national teams that have, they invented the sport as they claim, but they haven't been very lucky winning it. And so, but then they have a great squad on CV. So one of the sort of wingers there is called Bukayo Saka, number 7, Arsenal player. Obviously I want him to progress well. Declan Rice, also a phenomenal leader in Arsenal. And others, I know we have a few in Brazil, a few in France, but I think if you ask me, I'd like to see England make some good progress this time.
What about, there are 8 Arab teams, by the way, yes, in the World Cup this time, which is the most, I think, ever. In the World Cup, you have a new team, Jordan, which is there for the first time.
Yes.
How do you think they're going to do?
Well, listen, I mean, obviously, that is a great accomplishment for the Arab world. Obviously, the format this year of the World Cup has been expanded, so it has been more accommodating for teams to qualify. But even with that being said, I think the Arab teams have done a great job qualifying. Unfortunately, our beloved UAE national team hasn't made it. Maybe for a good reason. Maybe we need to be more prepared, because I think making it to the World Cup is an achievement, but then going there and getting battered isn't very very joyful. So hopefully this gives us time to rebuild and to prepare, and I think we are getting there in that and heading in the right direction. I think all the Arab teams, I wish them all the best. Inshallah they progress well. knowing what I know about the competitiveness of the other teams and the capabilities, I think any form of progress is an achievement. But I doubt that they'll go too far. But inshallah, I'm wrong.
So what are we missing? You're an owner as well of a football club here locally. There is quite a bit of poverty across the Arab world. If you look at, the Arab world, maybe outside of the GCC, there is a lot of hardship. There are the ingredients, basically this kind of chip on the shoulder that I want to go, I want to do it, I want to go against the odds, like the David and Goliath story. So why do you think we don't have a strong team?
So if you're talking about the UAE, obviously we don't have there's a number of factors that you need. You need, first of all, the hunger. Okay, and the hunger comes from need, right? We are not a country in poverty today. We are, alhamdulillah, a country with a lot of opportunities. The income per capita is amongst the highest in the world. We're not a Brazil, we're not an Argentina, where we have that real sort of need and poverty. We're not Africa. So that's number one. Number two, we don't have the numbers. These countries also have, tens and hundreds of millions of people. We are a much smaller country. We have the ambition, we have the resources and facilities, but we don't have what these other countries have. Now, one of the things that I believe hopefully will contribute to that is now a more inclusive society for football. If you look at the numbers today, and we are a small country, even if you count everybody in this country. But then if you look at only the nationals, we're what about 8% of the total population, so if we only focus on that category, we're limiting ourselves. I think my interest in the sport and to support the sport has been really to engage with the expats that live here and give them an opportunity to become professional players through the right academies, through the right channels, and then ultimately have the option to also represent the UAE, because these expats would have grown in the UAE and would potentially be eligible to become national players. You asked me about the club that I'm involved with. I've been fortunate to know Michel Salgado, who's one of the top celebrity football players, ex-Real Madrid, Spanish national team. And when he retired, he chose to make Dubai his home. And he moved here with his family, and obviously his passion is around football. So he set up a football academy here in Dubai, and he started to demonstrate that with his vision, with his discipline and expertise, and the team he built around him, the academy was starting to produce phenomenal results and really trained the players in a different way. That sort of led us to agree to partner to set up a professional football club, to create a pathway for those players that are being trained in the academy to be able to have a career path potentially in football. And that for me was very exciting, because now I'm tapping into the 92% of the population, which is all those players that otherwise didn't have that option. And through this, we believe today we have an opportunity to complement us amongst all the other private clubs that have followed similar vision, to complement the overall UAE football industry in a way where we could give them sort of more candidates that could compete. We're very happy today, even in over a short period of time, less than 7 years, we today have players that are actually on the international team from our academy. In the UAE national team, some of them actually playing for international clubs, Celta Vigo and Benfica in Portugal and so forth. So we're very proud, and that's only the beginning. But inshallah, very soon, we will be seeing some stars in the international arena and in the national team that have started with us as kids in Fursan Hispania, which is the name of our football club.
So is it a second division team or a first division team?
It's a second division team, and we are working towards, inshallah, going up to the first.
How do you move? How do you go from second division to first division? So
there is a promotion system. 2 clubs at the end of the season get promoted, and two clubs from the higher division get relegated.
Okay.
So that's.
So it's a moving target.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you might lose it or gain it at some point.
If you are the bottom 2, then you would be relegated to the lower league. If you are in the top 2, then you will be promoted to the league above.
I remember when I was young in Lebanon, the World Cup was like a huge thing. I mean, people go crazy there. You
Yes.
have, parades of cars with German flags and Brazilian flags and Italian flags, and people fighting with each other over
Yes.
which team's going to win. It's, as you said, it's a great bonding experience as well. I attended a conference last year in LA. It was a conference put together by a big tech podcast called All In. So
Yes.
I don't know if you're familiar with it, but
Yes.
the conference was called the All In Summit. And one of the speakers that they had there was talking a lot about the entertainment industry and how in the age of AI it's going to explode and become much, much bigger as people seek these in-person bonding activities with their family in the same way people used to bond with their family watching a TV show like 20 years ago. But now, because of the tablets and the devices and the phones, everybody's like very much on their own tablet and device, and people don't necessarily bond or communicate with each other anymore. So I think there's a big opportunity in the sort of live sports or live entertainment type events, and as you said, football could be. I mean, you do bond with your family. You said it's a family affair.
Absolutely. And to your point, I think fortunately, sports is one of the areas that I think AI cannot disrupt, at least for the foreseeable future.
Well, unless you have AI teams.
But that's I think that's going to be a bit sad if we get to that stage. But at least for the foreseeable future, I think sports is one of the industries that will continue to be very much out of this AI helm. And I look forward to it staying that way.
I mean, you have esports, right? Which is a very big industry.
That's
so
right.
you're kind of moving in that direction. I know esports is massive in Saudi, for example.
That's right.
I don't know how big it is here in the UAE.
It's a growing industry, of course. It's a growing with a lot of obviously fan base and a lot of participants in it.
I think what my wish would be is for us to support our own and to one day have a breakthrough, Arab champion, basically, that we can all rally around. I find it difficult, even as a founder, as an ex-entrepreneur here, having built a business here in the UAE. I find it difficult that, in general, I feel we have an appreciation for something that comes from the West, that for some reason it's perceived as better quality or better value, and I think it's it's sad because I think there's a lot of talent and there's a lot of opportunity locally, and I think we just need to believe a little bit more into our own kids, our own colleagues, and people that live in our countries.
Yeah, I mean, maybe my perspective of this is a bit different. I'm not sad about the fact that we've appreciated what was coming from the West, because at that time it was better. I think we managed to understand what they do, and we managed to develop and learn. I think we got to a stage now where we are exporting some of those innovations and ideas, and the West is starting to appreciate it in the same way we did appreciate what they exported to us. So I think it's a natural cycle, and as long as we as an economy continue to want to innovate and continue to want to be creators, others will appreciate what we do. So we are today, and we're very fortunate to be part of this UAE ecosystem, because I think the leadership have really set a framework and set a path for all of us to believe in ourselves. And we see a lot of success stories, and much more to come, inshallah. So I'm very optimistic. I'm very bullish. I'm very open to criticize and be objective about where we are strong and where we are weak. And I think that's the only way for people to evolve.
I've been here 23 years. And it's incredible to see how open usually people from the government are. Like, as a founder, as also an investor, you're always getting called from people like within the government. Listen, come, we're doing this event. Tell us where are the roadblocks. Tell us what do you think we should do better. Tell us where could we improve. I mean, this is incredible. Even some things might take a bit longer than others to solve. I had a guest before on the podcast called Trevor McFarlane. I don't know if you know him, but he talked about the feedback loops that the UAE has built in, and how they're able to get basically feedback on a constant basis. Your Excellency, you used to be the vice chair of Dubai Chambers.
That's right.
So you work over years and years to do the right programs. Let's say one, to attract talent into Dubai and businesses into Dubai, and also to help local businesses export, let's say, what they have into Dubai, outside into the world. So what do you think needs to happen so that we can see more, let's say, UAE-born companies succeeding outside in the world, and let's say the big markets like the US, for example?
The Dubai Chambers has been an active and instrumental organization in supporting the private sector to achieve their aspirations, and also being a conduit between the private sector and between policymakers to ensure that there is a transparent dialogue, and then that there is proximity between all stakeholders. Through that, obviously, the Chamber has been launching initiatives that help, obviously, promote companies that are part of the Dubai ecosystem to expand internationally through international offices and through trade missions and a lot of and research and data and stuff like that. But also it's been helping international companies also enter into our market as part of the sort of diversification of our marketplace and creating the right competitive landscape, which ultimately benefits the consumer. So the Chamber continues to play that role, and I think it's a role that's appreciated by the private sector. In terms of what more can be done for the companies to expand, at the end of the day, I think the government is always listening to what are the legislations, what is the regulation, what kind of environment has to be put in place to attract businesses to be domiciled here, to start up here, and then to be able to grow. And then what are the pain points that they're facing, whether it's with regards to if it's regulation, to try to resolve this, is funding, to try to also create solutions for them. So, and through the active dialogue between the private sector and between the government, all the challenges that emerge from time to time can be addressed. But today, the testament to the success of Dubai and the UAE is really already through the data of all those companies that have chosen to make Dubai a home and have continued to grow and benefit from being in this environment.
One of the things we keep talking about a lot in the startup ecosystem is access to markets. The UAE, as you said, even in sports, but also in business, it's not a very big market, and a lot of investors and founders would like to see maybe bridges built outside of the UAE, right, so that they can be a global company born out of the UAE. For example, one great example of that is checkout.com, for example, which was launched here in the UAE. But I think one of the pain points, let's say, is basically how do we grow these businesses, or how do we get the mindset so that someone building from the UAE can build a global business from day one, and the aspiration not be, okay, I'm going to be a UAE company and then I'm going to be a Saudi company, and then it kind of stops there, right?
Yeah, I think the UAE is a perfect testing ground and a perfect launchpad for businesses. Why is it perfect? Because one is the regulation is easy for you to incorporate and set up a company. That's number one. Number two, the second biggest important thing that you need is talent. The UAE is an open market for talent. You can hire and recruit people from all over the world.
True.
Number three is access to financing. Also, the UAE is an open and well-solicited market when it comes to financing, both in terms of angel investors, late-stage investors, and also through debt instruments. And then you then look at other sort of aspects, which are connectivity, for example. How easy is it for you to travel and go to other areas? Again, the UAE as a hub is phenomenal for that. You combine all those factors together, and you realize that you actually have all what you need to actually see if you have a competitive and a product or a competitive service. Once you can achieve that, and once you do that, the framework here allows you to expand. So then it's really a function of your product and your service, to what extent you can actually take it to other markets. But you're not then confined by just your neighbors. You can grow beyond that. I mean, I've been fortunate to have backed companies that have taken that trajectory, and today they have become global businesses. I mean, one of those examples is a company called Moove. It's spelled Moove. So this company was a fintech mobility company that we got to know about in 2021. The company was founded by two British Nigerian founders, Oxford, Cambridge graduates, and very smart. And they were effectively solving for the need for basically financing for the ride-hailing drivers. Drivers in the gig economy that didn't have access to financing, and whereas there was need in various markets, specifically in the African markets in the beginning, and there is demand, but there isn't supply on the cars because of the lack of financing. And so when we got to know about them, we decided to back them. But then we told them, have you considered as part of your because they were initially in South Africa and Nigeria, have you considered expanding using Dubai as a hub? And so through connecting them with the government and the right people, they realized that Dubai could be a perfect solution for that. They set up their head office in Dubai. They started expanding in multiple markets, including the Middle East, including India. Through that, they also got access to Latin America, Europe. Fast forward, I mean, when we invested with the company had a turnover of $10 million, operating in two different markets in 2021. Today, the company has a turnover of over $400 million, operating in the US as well, and has even pivoted beyond just financing drivers to actually being the largest mobility partner for the autonomous vehicles. So now the US is the biggest expansion market for them, and this is a Dubai headquartered company. Yeah. It has just raised money at $2 billion valuation and continues to scale. So again, this is now a Dubai unicorn, and it's a story that has only been made possible because the founders believed in the UAE story. If you ask them today, and I think you should actually interview the founders in the future, Ladi and Jide here, because they'll tell you that the decision to incorporate in Dubai has been a game-changer decision for them. It allowed them to hire some of the best talent. It allowed them to raise capital from some of the best investors, including sovereign wealth funds like Mubadala and others. It allowed them to get access to other markets much better, and today they're a global business.
Definitely, the Dubai brand helps a lot, because anywhere you go in the world today, people know, people have heard of Dubai and know Dubai and the UAE. So it's definitely a strong brand to have. If you were to launch a company today, would you look east or west?
So I would. Assuming that you're referring to launching the company in the UAE.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then in terms of
from the UAE.
From the UAE.
If you have a company in the UAE, you're not vice chair of Dubai Chambers now, even though you're still on the board, you're still involved. But let's say you are a founder, an entrepreneur, and you're looking at the expansion market. You're an operator. Where would you go?
So it's really a function of product market fit, right? Ultimately, I need to see the product that I've created or the service that I've created. Where are the markets that I'll have the best opportunity to expand and to win? That's really the driver. And ultimately, then I'll look at markets where I believe that the competitive landscape is more favorable for me. The regulatory landscape is also acceptable. That's really going to drive my expansion. So it really depends case by case. There's no one solution for all.
Because I'm hearing, I heard the argument that in the West, obviously you have like an aging population. Obviously, like in places like the US, you have so many people competing on building great companies, etc. Whereas in the East, you have a very young population, a digitally native population. So there's a lot of opportunity there, but obviously it comes with its own challenges.
It's every case is very different.
Have you backed any companies going east?
I haven't really backed companies that gone east, and I think it's a matter of just circumstances and situation. Currently, most of my focus has been the thesis mainly when it comes to VC, and what I look at has been mainly looking at EMEA, the EMEA market. I think this is a market which is, there's a lot of opportunity because it's quite fragmented. I think Europe within the EMEA will always be a source of talent and innovation because of the quality of their universities, their research, and the sheer sort of innovation that's coming out of there. The challenge Europe has is fragmentation of market and lack of growth capital. But then if you look at the EMEA as a whole and try to match it together, you have the Middle East keen on technology adoption, with capital availability and basically markets. And so if you can combine the talent from Europe into the markets in the region, there is a case to be made here. So most of my time right now when it comes to the VC side of investing and with my partners that I work with Speed Invest, which is a European leading VC fund manager. That's the thesis that we're trying to exploit.
So you're trying to bring talent from Europe into the UAE to become a hub to launch companies that cater for the Africa, Middle East
Absolutely.
Area. Interesting. So obviously, let's talk a little bit about talent, right? We've had a big shock here in the UAE and the entire region, actually. I think some people say, it sorted out the tourists, not necessarily like people coming on vacation, but the people that were here, taking advantage, let's say, of certain the quality of life, let's say, here in the UAE, and the real believers, basically the people that stuck around and are still here today. Dubai spends an incredible amount of effort to build its reputation across the world, and it has succeeded in a phenomenal way. We were just saying that anywhere you go, people know about it. And also, I think the UAE government has done a great job at creating so many initiatives over the past, let's say, decade. I've been here 23 years, and the business environment has gotten much, much better. Obviously, you have programs like Golden Visa and different types of visas for people to stay here and be able to live here without really having to worry about their status and so on. What needs to happen, you think, post this war in terms of the, not necessarily the brand, but what do you think would be the proposition now moving forward?
Loulou, I think just before the war, things were looking so good that it was almost too good to be true. And, we've had a number of years of strong growth numbers across all metrics. But all of us were planning and preparing for a potential slowdown or a potential dip, because that's the
cycle.
That's a cycle. So nobody imagined that it would be triggered by a war. But the war actually triggered it in this instance. Now, this was a shock. We are a peace nation. We have never seen ourselves engaging. We have never seen ourselves being attacked, and we never justified the reason for others to attack us. It is what it is, and we are where we are. However, I think the lessons learned from this, and I've actually spent some time meeting some very important stakeholders in the UAE on the back of this, just to understand the sentiment and the view. And three main takeaways I got. One is that obviously all of us are extremely impressed and never knew about our defensive resilience that the country has been investing in and has been preparing us for. We are very impressed. We never thought that we have this capability, and this only gives us a confidence for the future. So now all the people say, at least we know now. We never knew that this, how we can handle it. Now we know that the country is strong. And hopefully we never have to live this again, but we know we have the capability. The second thing is a lot of the people were very surprised with the level of resilience and stickiness of the residents of the UAE. Yes, some people had to travel and leave because they were concerned, and that's absolutely fine. But a lot of those people almost felt embarrassed that they did that. And when they tried to explain, when people asked them, why are you not in the country? They say, it was actually a planned holiday from before, and I'm actually coming back in a week.
It was because there was a Eid holiday. The schools were off, by the way.
So people were feeling responsible to justify why they left, as opposed to feeling that that's the natural thing to do, which is, again, it shows you a sense of attachment, belongingness, and people feel really, very much committed to the UAE, and they really feel this is home because of how the country has, opened its arms for them and gave them the opportunity to make it really their home. And the third thing I realize is everybody's already thinking and planning for the day after. So nobody's saying that this is something that's not going to end. Nobody's saying that this is the end of the world. Everybody's planning for it. Even the most impacted industries, like obviously hospitality and tourism and so forth. The hotels and the restaurants they decided, you know what, we were planning to do a renovation in 2029 or 2028. Let's do it now. Let's close down for 6 months, renovate. So they're doubling down. They're committing their capital. They're not saying we need to hold back and see what happens. They're actually going all in. And that's the beauty about and that shows you the resilience. So one thing that I think we see out of this experience is, again, the continued reassurance of the resilience of the UAE, of Dubai, of the private sector, and that's a very powerful message. It got triggered by something that we were not hoping is the trigger, but the outcome is going to make us stronger and better, inshallah.
Yeah. Well, our streets near our homes look a lot nicer now. Every single villa has a UAE flag on top of it. It's really it's a great show of resilience and of support to the nation. It's really good. I question just like something we discuss, my husband and I, all the time. We're at a cohort. I'm 44 years old. Thank you.
You say 44 years young, not old.
Young,
that's
young.
a new definition.
And obviously we've all been here for. We've been here for 23 years. There's people that have been here longer, shorter, etc. But we have built a home here. We have invested in our home. We have built a family here, and so on. So one of the things that we keep talking about at dinner tonight, now, is what do we do for our retirement? Do you think the UAE is considering any solutions, for example, for this cohort of people that have built here for a long time and are wondering, because really we're at this point, do I buy a house somewhere else because maybe at 60 I have to leave, or what needs to happen, you think?
I do not represent the government, obviously,
yes.
but I can tell you through my proximity to what the government sort of is planning and thinking. You don't need to think about going anywhere.
Okay.
The government has already started with all the initiatives and the golden visas and all that, all those tools that help facilitate people to make them feel comfortable, and that there's not a ticking clock around when they need to leave. And there's a lot that's coming that will really make sure that people like you and others continue to make this home for as long as, inshallah, you live.
When I got the call to get the golden visa, I was one of the early people that got it, by the way, in the beginning of 2020. I got the call from His Excellency's office, Mohamed al-Gargawi. And then I thought, this is a prank, like someone's calling me, pretending to be someone they're not. And then they said, no, you've been nominated and you're going to get I still have a photo. I went to my husband. I was like, it's like as if I won the lottery. The point is just to say that, I think this is, I always say it, as a Lebanese, this is a country, I think, that offered so much that unfortunately we couldn't get in our home countries. A lot of us had to leave at a young age, and this is the place that opened its arms and welcomed us and provided us with all the opportunities. By the way, I'm not saying that because I'm talking to you. It's genuinely like something that I say all the time, and we'd love obviously to remain part of this country's infrastructure.
I think in the same way that you got that call, I'm sure that you'll get another call. So
yeah, okay.
I have no doubt.
That's good. One last question to wrap with for you. If the UAE is the land of opportunity. I think a lot of people come here to build wealth and create wealth. And, you have real estate, obviously, which is booming market, massive market. You're heavily involved in that yourself.
That's right.
You have obviously the startup ecosystem where you can, the ease of doing business here is great. You can build a business. What is your recommendation for someone who is moving into the UAE, let's say, and wants to build a life and also build wealth here? What should they do?
Yeah, I think it really is based on how that individual are they coming with their wealth and they want to sort of establish here, or are they starting to start from the beginning and build a business? I think whether they're coming from either direction, I think this is a land of opportunity. If they want to come and do their own startups, I think the regulation is very friendly. There is a lot of tools. There's networks, and they'll feel at home. It's a safe country. It's a accessible country. Talent is within reach, so they'll have an opportunity. I always say that if you go to any lobby of any of the hotels here in Dubai, and people sitting around on different seating arrangements on the sofa, and if you were a fly that could be going and landing there and just listening to their conversations, every group of people are talking about an idea that they believe is the next big thing. Now, not all of them will have the next big thing, but all of them have that belief. And this in itself is the most important element for people to actually continue to put their effort, to put their commitment, put their capital, and some of those people will actually win big. And so that level of belief is what an economy, a society needs. And this is what we have here. People who obviously come with wealth today, we are a tax-friendly environment. They can, the IFC has amazing jurisdictions for family offices, family trusts, access to advisors, access to asset managers, connectivity, quality of life, you name it. I mean, and again, I'm not saying something that people don't know. The world has decided to make the rich people in the world have decided to make Dubai the #1 city that they move to, because of all those reasons. And so nothing for me to add here. It's just, this is the land of opportunity. We're blessed to have phenomenal leadership. We're blessed to have an environment that has allowed people to want to make it succeed. And through this collective, the best talent like yourself, like others from other parts of the Arab world and other parts of the world have decided that this is where we want to put our energy. And this is a very powerful tool, because you put the smartest people who are aligned with capital in one environment, you can only expect great outcomes.
You work a lot with young people through your involvement with INJAZ. Is that your advice to the the fresh graduates, to the younger generation about starting a life here? Is it through start a business, or is it through invest, for example, more into equities, for example? Is there like specific advice or maybe a question that you get all the time from these young kids? What do we do?
No, the young kids, first of all, if I get to meet them, that's already an accomplishment, because it means that they've taken the first step. It means that they want to know more. It means that they want to understand. And I tell them first, I congratulate them on taking the first step. And I congratulate them that they're obviously in an amazing environment. And I encourage them to not give up. It's a journey. It's a process. Keep fighting. You might be an entrepreneur. You might be a great executive. You might be, find your calling, but don't give up. And I love to be in these events when I'm in INJAZ. Is a fantastic organization. It's a non-profit organization that trains and develops students in high school and in universities to get the tools that they need to be successful entrepreneurs. And a couple of days ago, we were in the annual company event, which is basically the competition where all those kids come and compete to win the final award and go to the national championship. And the level of energy that you get from those, the passion is absolutely unbelievable. It's very contagious, and you just leave feeling good about the society and the future of our young generation. So yeah, I'd love to engage with them. I think I get out of them more than they get out of me, because it's just a lovely engagement, and I will always do my best to support the young generation achieve their dreams.
Is there one quality that impresses you most in founders that you meet in general?
The most important quality is perseverance. I think it's just keep on going at it, trying to learn from your mistakes, don't give up, keep trying. The only thing that defeats luck is perseverance, because if you keep going at it, at some point you'll get it. Now, you need to learn, you need to improvise, you need to evolve your methodology, you need to pivot when you need to pivot. But you're a founder yourself. You've seen it. You understand. It's not for the faint-hearted.
No.
So you need to have thick skin. You need to be willing to learn, willing to fail. Failure is only failure when you decide to stop. If it's part of a journey that led you to a big success, it's no longer called failure. It's part of the evolution. You said Ronaldo earlier, or Messi. I mean, as many goals that they've scored, they've missed much more.
Yeah.
So if that stopped after the last miss, people remember them as people that have not won anything, but they kept on going, and that's why they are where they are.
Exactly. I think that's such an important skill, by the way, to teach our kids. It's something that I personally try to teach my kids all the time, to keep trying. It's okay. Try again, work harder, and so on.
With kids, Loulou, sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you think, should I be tough on them for them to actually learn, or am I too tough? And then I feel that's I want to create for them more of an easier. So it's opportunity and environment. It's a very difficult, and that's why I think our role as parents is really to try to mentor as much as possible, but then give enough freedom and flexibility for them to also learn.
I have one answer to that, by the way, because I thought about it as well. And we grew up in, the way we were raised, it's completely different than we raise kids today.
Yes.
And I think with all our traumas, we turned out okay. So I'm pretty sure the next generation would be far better, even if we're a bit tough on them. I think they're gonna be in a much better situation than
Inshallah. At least that's what we hope for, and that's what we try.
Yeah, there's an entrepreneur I'm working with at the moment. He's building a company. He's having some challenges. He told me, and I think this is something important for everyone to hear. He's like, I eat no for breakfast. So that resilience that you were talking about, and the perseverance is so important.
Absolutely.
I want to thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
For joining me today.
Thank you.
Good luck to England in the World Cup.
Thank you. And if not them, any Arsenal player as well in the other national teams.
In the other national teams.
Yes.
I hope some of the Arab teams make it to the quarterfinals or semifinals. So hopefully we'll have something as well to celebrate. I hope the UAE will have a strong team one day.
Inshallah, we look forward to that day. Yes.
That we can all rally around. I think we're going to have the next World Cup in Morocco and then in Saudi, so it's very limited to our region.
Yeah, for me, the dream would be when the UAE becomes a representation of all the people who have grown up and lived here, between the locals and the people who have grown up here and joined the national team and became locals. Then that will be a real representation of what the UAE is all about, because we are this fabric of these different nationalities that have made the UAE their home. And when this then becomes the outcome, and then that team is what represents us and gets us glory, that will be an amazing representation of what this country means to the world.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. This great conversation with His Excellency Faisal Belhoul. If you are listening or watching this, make sure you are subscribed, and also make sure to leave us a rating and a review wherever you are listening or watching. It really helps the show getting discovered. See you soon.